my case, I had a creative control of the character, so it was a really wonderful experience of being able to work with all of the people involved. And for me, it was a process. I think Richard said it best. It was the most productive and most creative set I've ever been on in my life. And I've done some really strong work in my lifetime, but nothing compared to this. And I think it had a lot to do with all of you. There was a process that happened. The writers would write a script, and Ron Moore and all of these guys would get together, and women would get together, and they would start understanding the story and then moving it forward. And then we would get into production, and we would elevate the story and put it into reality on film. And then they would take it to post-production, and post-production would elevate it to even another level. It was just mind-boggling to all of us, with Bear, McCreary, and everybody just jumping in there, and the special effects and everybody dealing with it. Then we put it out on the air. And when it went out on the air in 2003 and 2004, but 2003 was the miniseries, it was an era that we'd never had this possibility in the history of the planet, and blogging came in right at the time that this program took off, the very first miniseries and the first episodes. And so people started to blog from all over the world. And what happened is the very first time it was ever experienced, it was experienced in London. England got it to put it out first. And so I think Canada and the United States, we waited for about a month and a half, I think 6 weeks before we put it on the air here. So they had it there, but as soon as it went on, somebody was downloading it, and as soon as it was over, it was on the internet. So people saw it immediately. People that knew how to really get into it had it already. So they were watching the program almost simultaneously, and therefore it went out. And so people, as soon as it was released anywhere on the planet, people started to blog about it. And what happened is that you all took it to a much higher level of understanding. You guys were saying, and the writers were on the blogs, Ron was on blogging, everybody was talking to each other all over the planet, and the comments were coming in from every part of the world, and people were just interconnected, and I know many of you here were in that process from the very beginning. And so what ended up happening is that you took it to a very high level of understanding, taking it from what we had done, and what the post-production had done, and what the writers had done, and the writers just sitting there and the blogging, reading the blog, and yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Yes. Oh yeah. God, yeah, that's right. Yes. Oh, that's a better idea. Yes. And so they took it from there, wherever you guys took them to, and then they started the next sequence of their writing from that point and moving forward. So what happened was something that now has become almost, pretty common now, but it wasn't when it started. And therefore, I really take it that it was a construct of not only directors, producers, writers, and us, the actors in front of camera and behind the camera, but it became a part of the fan base also, which was something most unusual. And for once I thank the internet. Because I really have problems with the internet. The governments are watching, Big Brother has landed, and we're all under surveillance now. So anyway, that's what happened. And so, what can I say? How about you guys?
All good.
Okay, next question.
Question from this side?
Mr. Owens, last year at one of these panels, I pointed out that the series had a strict military hierarchy, and asked you that carried out off the set. Everyone sat back, and there was a lot of whispering. Finally, Mary sat forward and said, "Ask Eddie." So, my question is, what the frack did you do to the cast?
It's a little different up here. What the frack did we what? What's the last part of it?
One at a time. Come on.
What the frack did I do to the cast?
These monitors don't make it as clear as what you guys are hearing.
Yeah,
we
we
missed a lot of
We're getting a rebound off
it. Yeah.
it.
So if anybody has the whole sort of gist of what he asked.
Okay, so what the frack did I say to the cast?
No, what the frack did you just say? That's what we're really getting at.
I'll tell you this. No, we had, at the very beginning, the initial group of artists, actors that came on, and the very first time we were ever going to go in front of camera, we met in our room, in my trailer, and we sat there and did nothing more than just kind of trying to get to know each other, because it was really the first day we were all together, and we're going to go onto the stage, and that was the So Say We All day. The very first day we ever worked, we did the scene where we're burying all of our dead, and we're going to start on the journey. That's, the So Say We All speech, which a lot of you know about. So we got together, and what we really did was nothing more than just get to know one another and set up a game rule that we were all pretty much in this all together as we were in the story. And it became a really solid bond between the family. It's amazing. I adore every single artist that came to help us on this and the original cast. It was amazing what happened. So it was a bonding session that we went through at the very beginning with Mary. Mary and I were the elder statesman, the father and mother of the group, and I got this all the time. Aaron was definitely the one who put us through the most on all levels. Whenever we wanted to have fun, we just invited Aaron. This morning he got a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning to come pick up one of us. We were in jail already. Aaron's opening line was, "You couldn't even wait for after the first day? You just got here." So, just to answer your question, it was a relationship that was bred on friendship and respect for every single person who's in the room. And we got it together right from the beginning. And then we used to hold these kind of like little meetings and get-togethers whenever we could. And it showed on screen. It really did. I think that the opening So Say We All segment of this became really probably the most effective way to start the show. And I was so grateful that two things. One, that they allowed us to do it, what we did, because it was written that way. And I take my hat off because everybody was kind of shaking as to what was going to be happening in the scene. We're inventing the world at that moment, and this was going to go out. And this was towards the end of the entire piece, so we're shooting it first. And that really doesn't make sometimes for understanding anything or anybody or just out there. But it worked perfectly because that's exactly what it was supposed to be. We were completely lost, and everybody was completely shaken to the roots. And you felt it. When the camera panned across all of our faces as we're standing there realizing what has just happened, every single human being that we've ever known is gone and lost and dead, and here we are, and we're going to go looking for Earth, and the rest was history. So to answer your question, Mary and myself and everybody got together. We bonded from the very, very beginning before the actual first scene was ever shot. We got it all of us together, and it was really quite an amazing situation. Actually, we kind of talked about the entire trajectory of the piece, if I remember correctly. It was amazing. Every step, we talked through the entire 5 years. We said we were going to go for 5 years, and And we talked about what it meant and how to pace yourself. Because, and we said it on the very first day. If we go 5 years, and I think we will, it'll be an evolutionary process, but like a great marathon runner, you run your first mile really strong, and your second, third, all the way up to your 25th mile or 26th mile, you're running it really strong. But the last mile has to be your best mile. You have to run the fastest mile at the very end, the last one. So pace yourself so that your last performances as this character, whatever that might be, are your best, and it worked out to the hilt. Everybody really rose to the level of expectation, and we all went out with a huge bang. Every single person in this panel that did that show. I think it was one of the best acted shows we've ever had on television.